Alabama gets the big win over Tennessee, and Jimmy and I are here to talk about it.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that'll be him here in just a minute. But right now, I hope that blight isn't too bad on the back of y'all. I'll do this. I literally just rolled in from Tuscaloosa. Unbelievable game. Unbelievable. No other way to say it. Just a tale of two halves, if there ever was any. Even Avery Johnson's like, man, I always say this is a tale of two halves. This was definitely a tale of two halves. And, boy, Alabama, whatever they did in the locker room, it's so cliche to say this all the time. Whatever they did, they need to bottle that up. Keep it a secret, sell it on Amazon, whatever you got to do, because that was amazing in the second half. And Jimmy will be joining me here in just a minute as I'm getting some comments here. I hate Tennessee, Roll Tide, baby. Let me just throw this out there initially. That I went with my 7-year-old. I went with my daughter, who's 16, and her friend, who's 16, that's never, ever been to a college football game, ever. And so I was really excited to take Mary Sanford, my daughter's friend, to this game. And then in the first half, I was like, boy, it's usually not like this. I mean, the crowd was dead. We can say what we want to. Saban asked for our help. We didn't give it in the first half. I have no problem saying that. And we were way up high. But, you know, I had this group of Tennessee youngsters in front of me. I mean, college age, they're probably all at Tennessee now. And they were cussing and they were screaming and they were doing. And it was just god awful. I mean, look, I know we've all been there as college kids, but I mean, I guess when you look at when you're an adult, you have young children with you, and these kids were just saying some awful things. I mean, and I'd tell them to stop, you know, a couple of times. I mean, and you know, to their credit, they would for a minute, and then they'd have another sip of beer, and then they'd continue on. But regardless, I thought it was a poetic justice for Alabama to win the way they did. Jalen, I can't wait to watch this second half again. Jimmy and I are going to talk about it. There's no doubt tomorrow when we get to watch the second half. I'm so excited to see this because, I mean, it almost happened so fast that you didn't even realize what was going on. Because, frankly, after Alabama blew the opportunity, they stopped Tennessee on a fourth down. By the way, Josh Heupel, you don't have to go for fourth down all the time. You're not Lane Kiffin. You got better players than Lane Kiffin, and you don't have to go for fourth down all the time, especially when you're playing a lot better than the other team, which they were in the first half especially. So Alabama gets the ball back. They have a couple of nice runs, and then they throw a pass in the end zone that is either deflected or off Jermaine Burton's helmet or shoulder pads or whatever it was. I was on the other end of the field, so I hadn't even seen it yet. So, you know, I kept thinking, boy, we can't get out of our own way. And I really didn't see a path for Alabama to win this game at half. It's 20-7. I felt like the defense was going to, you know, end up just sort of collapsing because, I mean, it had to be somewhat of a deflating thing to watch the offense go out there and not play well for the first half. I mean, they just didn't. And then in the second half, I don't know what in the world happened. I don't know what in the world happened to this entire team. Shout out to Will Reichert. I know I'm bouncing all over the place right now. Y'all please keep in mind I just got back from the game. And shout out to Will Reichert, who, by the way, last year missed about a 49/50-yarder that probably would have won the game. And now he kicks a 49-yarder. And I had the perfect view of this. I had horrible seats, but that thing sort of curved right into it. I mean, all the people that were with me were like, oh, we missed one. You know, we had been talking about all the ones he'd made in a row, and he nails it. It just sort of brings it back in. This kid is just unbelievable right now. SEC all-time leading scorer. I mean, heading to first-team All-American status, playing fantastic, and he deserves a shout-out. Shout-out to Jahad Campbell getting a touchdown. That was amazing. That was fantastic. Shout-out to Jalen Milroe for sticking with it. I'm going to tell you, in the comments, tell me, how many of you out there gave up on Milroe after the first half? I had several people say, you know, we need to make a change, kind of like Georgia, Alabama national championship at halftime. And I said, guys, it's just not happening. Yeah, frankly, I have no problem saying I was probably on board if it had happened. But I thought, it's just not going to happen. I mean, we've seen what the other guys bring to the table, and they don't bring what Milroe does. If we want to get back in this game, there's no time for on-the-job training for Ty Simpson or something like that. So Milroe comes back out. We have a huge play, 29-yard gain, I think, by Jace McClellan. And then he hits Isaiah Bond deep for a touchdown. He's like, bam, bam. Then we get either a 3-and-out, or maybe we gave up a quarterback run for a touchdown, or not a touchdown, a first down or something. And then we just sort of go back down the field. Now, we end up kicking a field goal, but that's okay. This team was gaining so much confidence in the second half. The one thing that I thought about was, why on earth does it have to be this way? Why do we have to be such a Jekyll and Hyde team? Can't we put this thing together? And, Jimmy and I say all the time, and hopefully he'll be joining me here in a second, but Jimmy and I say this all the time. You play your best once or twice a year. You play your worst once or twice a year. Everything in between is what you are. And we keep seeing what we are, but I'm ready. And I would make the argument that South Florida was probably one of those bad games. I mean, we only won 17-3. South Florida gives up a lot more points than that. I know we ended up looking better in the second half, but for the most part, that was one of those games. I just think that it's time for us to put a full game together. Maybe that full game will be against LSU. I don't know. It's hard to predict. Or maybe, hopefully we hadn't already seen it. But I feel like we've got one of those games in us if we can put it all together. Shout out to Jace McClellan, who's playing really well right now. Shout out to Roydell Williams not losing his cool, because there was a time when a Tennessee player landed on top of him and really gave him a forearm shiver right to the face. It wasn't called. That's another thing that we all as Alabama fans have to be enjoying, right? I mean, the Tennessee fans are going bananas about the officiating. Now, look, I was way up section SS11. I can't see a lot of stuff on the replay. Maybe I'll see some stuff, but only one penalty. And frankly, I mean, everybody's talking about holding. They were screaming. The Tennessee people that are in front of me were screaming holding every play when it comes to Alabama. When you do that, you just take away the ability to be objective at all. And considering how the officials treated us in Knoxville last year, I don't feel if we did get some calls, more power to us, because last year that cost us a shot at SEC championship, definitely a shot at national championship, cost us keeping the streak alive, cost us a lot of things. So, yeah, last year we got hosed. Maybe this year you got hosed. Okay, it was your turn over the barrel. It happens. It's going to happen again. And one other time you will get the advantage of the calls. So just deal with it. But you got to give Alabama a lot of credit for sticking with it. Jimmy keeps texting me he's on his way, so I'm trying to just sort of delaying. I'm running the clock out till Jimmy gets here. But I do want to get his input. I'm very excited to hear about it. After this game, all of us may need better help. Look, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp, and they are great people. What a fantastic resource for you out there. Look, if you've ever followed our podcast, I can tell you right now that I've had no problems telling everybody I've dealt with depression. It's been something I've battled all my life. I didn't know I was battling it all my life. It was just something, this overwhelming sadness that was always with me. But I started getting treatment for it a few years ago, and therapy has helped. Obviously, some medicine has helped. And I know some people have made some jokes about it. I get it. It's part of the game. But I think it's better to be open about it. So I want to tell you out there, if you are thinking, if you're out there and your mind is racing all the time and you can't focus, you got this, as I said, overwhelming sadness or whatever, I think it's so important for you to reach out to somebody. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege. I can tell you right now, therapy helped me a ton. And I think it'll help you out there. Look, we probably all need a little better help right now after that game, right? I'm joking, but I know that if you're out there and you have any of these feelings and you've ever dealt with what I'm talking about, that you sit up at night. Man, I remember so many times I'd just be up at night thinking about something that happened to me in the third grade or happened to me, 10 years ago or whatever. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And it would just really, really hurt. frankly, emotionally hurt. And so until I started talking to somebody, things weren't getting any better. And I finally decided, hey, look, I need to quit glossing over this and make my life better. And I did. And I would so highly encourage you, if you're out there, check out BetterHelp. It is a fantastic resource. And I think you'll be glad that you did. So please do at least give it some consideration. I know it's a hard step, but I think you'll be happy about it. Then I want to tell you about FanDuel. Look, snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. Great game tomorrow night between the Eagles and the Dolphins. Alabama North and Alabama South. It's America's #1 sports book is FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and even more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season right. FanDuel is official partner of the NFL. As my main man, Jimmy Stein, now joins me. Jimmy, are you as pumped as I am?
Yes. I'm probably even more so. I mean, in the sense that, I'm sure you've already talked about this because I know you had to start without me, but, Avery Johnson famously said it was a tale of two halves. I don't know that I've ever seen two halves of football more diametrically different in terms of one team's performance. I would go so far as to say, Luke, maybe that first half might have been about as bad as a Nick Saban team at Alabama has played in a half of football. It was really bad. I don't think people realize.
Nick Saban first quarter I've ever seen. Now, maybe the worst half I've ever seen from Nick Saban team at Alabama. Definitely the worst first quarter in Alabama history for Nick Saban. Definitely.
I don't believe that Tennessee in the game last year, I know everybody's going to talk about the offense and how bad the offense was and Jalen in the first half. I know that, but it was a complete team collapse. I don't believe, Luke, that last year in the Tennessee game in Knoxville, which was the worst defensive performance by an Alabama team I've ever seen in my lifetime, I don't think in either half of the Tennessee game last year, we gave up 275 yards. And we gave up 52 points in that game, but we didn't give up 275 yards in either half of that Tennessee game last year in Knoxville. That's how bad the defense was in the first half. The defense, they weren't even a speed bump, in the first half, and the offense was just a comedy of errors. And it was the worst half I could remember.
Jimmy,
now,
you're cutting out on me. I don't know. I hope that's you instead of me. I don't know. You're sort of cutting out a little bit, but look, let me. Because you and I are going to do a podcast tomorrow and we'll rehash all this, I want to read some of these comments.
Sure.
Kool-Aid has to go. He has lost the mojo for returning completely. Kendrick Lawtime or Emmanuel Henderson. Number one, Emmanuel Henderson's been kind of banged up. I'm with you, though. Look, and I hate to even talk about a negative right now. I'm so fired up. But it is a bit of a negative. Today, Kool-Aid did on the punt return stuff. He just made some bad call. I mean, there was one that landed right in front of him, and he got out of the way, and it rolled to about the 3. I also want you to explain something to me, Jimmy, because
Emmanuel Henderson wouldn't be the backup punter. The backup punt returner is Isaiah Bond.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just reading what I saw. Now, let me ask this, Jimmy. I don't still understand. I thought if you called a fair catch, in which Tennessee did on one of the kickoffs, they took it back to the 3 or 4 yard line. I thought if you called a fair catch, it went to the 25. So did he call a fair catch or did his knee hit?
No, I think what happened, and again, I'm there, so I don't know. I think people watching on TV might have had it, but it happened in front of me. I think what happened was the other kick returner called a fair catch, not the guy that caught the ball.
Gotcha.
So the guy that caught the ball, he returned it. He's running. He's running with the ball in his hands, making a kick return, but they had already called a fair catch on the other side of the field, so it's a penalty against Tennessee for returning a ball when they had already called a fair catch. And I guess the thing is they brought it back to the spot where the dude called the fair catch.
All right, Jimmy, let me ask this. This is a good question from our comment from Dave E. on the comment. Says, Tommy Rees, calls too many run plays up the middle, shaking my head. Okay, this is me being positive, Luke, right now after this big win. Could it be that we set some stuff up for the second half? Because it did feel like we were beating our head against the wall with some of these runs up the middle. But in the second half, we allowed Milroe to take off a little more. And I don't know if we allowed him to, we commanded him to, or he just did it.
Well, they were called runs. I mean,
Okay.
I can't wait to watch the rewatch, and I'll do that on BOL this week. Of course, y'all want to enjoy my rewatch where I describe every play in the game. It's a laborious task, but I enjoy it. But no, I think in the second half, those were just all called design runs. The play call is, okay, Milroe takes a snap and runs. It wasn't a scramble situation, and I still think he's not running enough on the scrambles. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that a lot this week because I understand to some extent why he's not, but I think he's doing the team and himself a disservice by not being more aggressive with his legs. I think he's finally hurting himself, and I think he's trying to avoid a label. I think he's trying to avoid a label of he's a running quarterback, and he wants to be known as a passer, and he is a pretty good passer. The numbers speak for themselves, but those legs make him special. I wish he would accept that he might be more like Lamar Jackson than he is Aaron Rodgers. And I just don't think he's doing the team or himself a service by being so conservative about not taking off. But in the second half, when he was making those plays with his legs, Luke, I think every one of those were just designed runs. They were just the play call. It was quarterback sweep and quarterback power, and yeah, they were big plays in the game.
I've also said that just throwing some things out there, and again, when we rewatch, we'll be a little bit more concise about everything. But Will Reichert, just a stud. Will Reichert deserves every kicking award. Can kickers get a Nobel Peace Prize? He should get it.
Give him the EGOT.
Give him all of the awards. However many awards there are, give him to him. And I'll tell you, Jason McClellan coming out with another 100-yard game. That was nice. Jalen Milroe. I look back, it's so funny. I was texting our group on our text thread, and like in the first quarter and maybe a couple of minutes, Joe Milton had already thrown 19 passes. I was like, this is, and he was 13 of 19. I was like, he hadn't really made a mistake. And I was like, if he keeps throwing passes, this is going to help us, right? The law of averages will come back around, regression to the mean, right?
I'm sure that first half was his best half of football in 2023. I haven't seen all of Tennessee's games, but based on his numbers, I have no doubt that was the best half of football Joe Milton played in 2023. And I think the second half, just a complete, like I'd said earlier, and we changed the subject a little bit, but like I said, that first half was, I think, as bad as I've ever seen any Saban team at Alabama. The second half, and I mean this when I say it, the second half, that was a playoff team. That's the first time all year I have felt Alabama looked and played like a college football playoff team. That was a playoff-worthy performance in that second half. They looked like, okay, now that is one of the best teams in college football right there.
How about Chris Braswell, 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss? Dallas Turner gets another sack, which is awesome. Jihad Campbell scoring. That was just fantastic.
Justin Aboigbe played a fantastic game up front.
He's a man.
Aboigbe is so good. He's so good. The defensive line in the second half was just great. And Jihad Campbell playing for an injured Trez. Trez got banged up ribs, I think, last week, and so he couldn't go. Terrion Arnold was out the second half with he gets dinged up and he's out for the second half. Trey Amos, I thought, did really well in the second half because he had to basically play the whole second half at cornerback, and against Tennessee, that's a tough draw, right? So, the offensive line in the second half, I think, might have played their best half as a group all year. So, hey, let's see what kind of momentum this gives us because, man, that LSU game is going to be tough. LSU is so good offensively. Jaden Daniels might be the best player in the country. I think it should be number 2 in the Heisman right now. If it's my ballot right now, I go Penix 1, Jaden Daniels 2.
I can see it.
He's going to be a heck of a challenge.
All right, Jimmy, we're going to go ahead and cut it off right here because we want to save a lot for tomorrow. But we just wanted for some people to come on and celebrate with us. This was a lot of fun. So, it's good to start a new streak with Tennessee. Hey, what is it? Now it's 16 out of 17 or 17 out of 18, whatever it is. That ain't bad against a program like Tennessee. So, pretty
most importantly, in the West race. In the thick of things to to get to Atlanta. I mean, there's 3 big SEC games left, but this team is 5-0 in the SEC. That's not easy to do, people. It's really not. And I know I keep hearing that the SEC is down, and man, I mean, I know we need to go, but I keep hearing the SEC is down, and this is what I want. Every Big Ten fan that says the SEC is down, every Pac-12 team, I hope your team has to go play in College Station. Go play in, and I'm not talking about Athens or Tuscaloosa, where the 2 best teams in the league are, or Baton Rouge. Go play a game in Gainesville. Go play in College Station. Go play Mississippi State and Starkville, and tell me that the SEC is down. These are middle of the pack, lower SEC. You go try to beat a team like that in that stadium. I'm telling you, the SEC may be not what it once was in the all-time best year. It's still the best league because it's just so hard to win games on the road. Ask Tennessee.
All right, that's going to do it. Roll Tide, everybody. Enjoy it. Smoke a cigar. Do your thing. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.